than what I ordered from AdamandEve.com. How? Motherfucker.
Fucker.
Must be the place. Ooh. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but chains and whips excite me. Ooh!
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Chit Chat with Detti
and Bratty.
How are you guys doing today? So I want to go ahead and start off really quick by saying we got really excited about the Hellraiser trailer. I'm not going to go into it now. If you want to watch the last video we did, the new video game coming out, it looks absolutely amazing. So I came home from work. I was super excited. I started filming a short, I turned it into a video, and then I added to it, and then I could not stop thinking about it. So we started getting a little bit more into it, started talking about the game, started talking about the lore, and we decided we wanted to come and do a video for you guys today. So in this video that we're doing, first off, spoilers throughout the entire thing. If you haven't seen Hellraiser, then stop the video, go watch it, and then you can come back. But we're not just going to go ahead and talk about the film here. Now, we don't know everything there is to know. There's actually a book by Clive Barker we're planning on picking up and reading, and so much more detail. But basically, Hellraiser, there's a lot more than meets the eye. So what I'm going to start out with is deep diving into one of my favorite horror movies ever made, and starting to become one of her favorite horror movies. It
really is.
Ever made.
All the information we're talking about is either from the movie itself or from the Hellraiser wiki.
Yeah.
Or Wikipedia. Just there's so much information out there.
And everything about this going on right now is so exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do this in a little bit of a chapter form here really quick. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to start off by giving you a synopsis of just the movie, a quick breakdown of the movie, and then from there we'll move to another chapter where we're going to get into a lot more details. So sit back, relax. I hope you enjoy our video, and let's go ahead and get started. Yes. So we love Hellraiser. I love Hellraiser. And recently we saw the video game, and the video game looked absolutely amazing. I'm not going to tell you all my excitement about it. Go and watch that video if you want to know all about that. But it gave me this motivation. I had to work the next day, and I was staying up, making this video with all these special effects, with the box, and doing all of this stuff because I got so excited about the game. Now, After that, we basically started talking about Hellraiser,
Yes.
and we kind of started getting into the lore of Hellraiser.
Yes.
And both realizing that there was a lot more than what meets the eye on this movie. Now, if you had never known any of the stuff we're going to tell you right now, it would make no difference, because as a film in the 80s, when this came out, there was nothing else like Hellraiser. And I mean literally nothing else like this movie. And you will absolutely love it. Now, when you get deeper into it, you start realizing that the person who wrote this movie actually was showing you one thing but had a lot more deeper meaning to it. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a basic synopsis of the film. It's not going to be perfect. I'm just going to throw it out there. And then she is going to go ahead and do some breakdowns of the characters. Now, one thing I did go ahead and do, because I have to always make sure I'm remembering everything, is I wrote down just a couple names and a couple things. I actually wrote down, believe it or not.
Now, this part is definitely for the people who haven't seen it, because it's a pretty, I can't even talk, a good explanation of what the film consists of.
All right, so I'm going to give you a quick synopsis, and then we're going to go on from there. So, Hellraiser is a film that came out in 1987. The movie basically starts out with a man named Frank. Now, Frank is this weird, beyond sadomasochistic man who is pretty dark and pretty dirty. But what you see is how I'm explaining this, is he is opening a box. As he is playing with this box and it opens up, you see the walls open. Suddenly, all these chains pop out of the wall. They grab him, rip his skin off, tear him apart, and he's basically sucked into hell. And that is your opening to this movie. After this point, it flashes to a family that's moving in. So once it gets to the family, we have a few different people. We have Larry, who's the father, Christy, who's the daughter, and Julia, who's the mother figure. As they're moving in, you see him going upstairs, checking out the house. You notice that Julia is a little uncomfortable, like, why are we moving back into this place? Julia starts having flashbacks in the movie, and the flashback she's having is of a guy named Frank, who is her husband's brother, knocking on the door and coming in, and basically she ended up having an extramarital affair with this guy, a very dark, dirty, nasty affair. He disappeared at some point. She doesn't know why, and they're in this house, and now she's feeling a little uncomfortable, and that's where we're starting. But as we're moving stuff up, they go into the room where he opened the lament configuration on the box, and the father, Larry, cuts himself, and blood pours into the floor, which is like a wooden floor. What happens is the blood goes below and actually ends up feeding Frank. So it actually brings him back to life as if he was just stuck in there. And what you end up getting is this nasty, disgusting looking man with no skin or nothing at all. Fast forwarding a little bit more, basic synopsis, he ends up, or she sees him again. She gets scared, but she's still turned on and she's still seduced, and he begins to explain to her what happened. He explains to her that he was out on a sexual journey, basically doing stuff that was incredibly sadomasochistic and dark.
Sexual deviant.
Yeah, dark and nasty, and he had opened this box, and basically the characters had ripped him apart. Now these characters, so these creatures, we'll say, do not know the difference between pain and pleasure, because it's basically the same thing to them. Now, at this point, he says, I need help, and he tells her what she needs to do. After explaining the situation, she goes out to bars, starts picking up men, promises them sex. I don't know how, because this woman is fugly ugly. But she brings them back, lures them upstairs, and then when they get in there, Frank eats the shit out of them, and she's disposing of the bodies, and this is what's bringing him back to life. In the meantime, the daughter gets a little bit privy to something weird might be going on, but she notices her bringing him a guy into the house, thinking that she is cheating on her father. Well, after she follows her in there, she sees what happens, and she sees that this guy gets eaten, and she sees Frank, and she freaks out. He grabs onto her, and she runs out the door. So she's dealing with stuff, and she's over at a hospital, basically. When she goes to the hospital, the Cenobites, which is Pinhead and all the other ones, pop up and basically say, we're looking for Frank, and we want this man. And they kind of talk to her a little bit about him and how evil he is, and basically she is scared for her father's life, so she runs back to the house. In the meantime, when she gets back into the house, what she doesn't realize is that the father is already dead, because what she ended up doing was feeding her own freaking husband to the creature. So once she did that, he puts his skin onto the Leatherface thing. She pops up, she sees him. Daddy, this seems great. Gives him hugs, gives him kisses. Seems like everything's a little weird. Seems relieved, but then she ends up realizing that it is not him. That he is actually her
uncle.
Her father, or her uncle, not her father. Yes, there we go. In the mix of all this stuff. He ends up stabbing Julia to death, so now she dies sitting there in the house, and she runs into a room. When she runs into the room, Pinhead comes out and basically says that we want the man responsible for this dead body. Now, at this point, even though I'm going back a little bit, she didn't know that dead body was her father. She thought her father was Frank, who has the skin on. So she says, no, you can't have him, and freaks out all the way around. But eventually she becomes privy to it, and when she does, she lures him into there, and then the walls start opening up. He calls her a bitch and tries to kill her. They send all of their chains and everything at him, rip him entirely to shreds, but before so they say to her, this is not for your eyes. They're not hurting her, they're not trying to kill her. She never opened the box, and that was it. He gets torn up, and then she grabs the box. She's kind of scared of all of them. She uses a configuration to suck them back into it. Finitoed. She ends up going to a psychiatric hospital, and the movie ends. That's the quick synopsis I can give you of what it's about. There's a lot more details, but now we're going to go ahead and move on. So now, chapter 2, we're going to go ahead and talk about Clive Barker for a minute. And I'm not going to go ahead and pretend like I know Clive Barker, that I know his details of everything. So part of this is speculation, while the other part of it is stuff that I actually have read and I've known. So Clive Barker, being this famous director, especially for a lot of gruesome horror movies that he made, we kind of feel like Clive Barker, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, he was always a closeted gay man. In fact, I don't even think he came out until the 90s. And, part of his stuff in sexual exploration that he had, his kinks and different things that he hid inside, kind of built some kind of a shame within him. Because whenever you have to take something and you have to hide who you are to the world, or you could only do it behind a closed door, you start to feel like you're shameful, like something's wrong with you and something isn't normal. And there was absolutely nothing wrong with him in this situation. And what I basically believe is that with these movies, including Nightbreed and other ones, with Hellraiser, he ended up taking that feeling he had, especially coming out and doing everything like that, and pouring it into this movie, the feelings of shame and everything. So one thing that which he's going to go into with talking about the Cenobites in a minute is we're going to talk about the backgrounds to them that we have read, and how we believe that Clive Barker took all of his personal stuff and turned it into basically what everybody thinks is a monster movie. And for all intents and purposes, it is that, but the truth of the matter is that those Cenobites are not really the villains of the movie.
No.
The true villains of this movie was Julia. Julia was a nasty, sadistic, horrible sadist of a woman who murdered all of these people and
with
did
the awful haircut,
nasty, and did all this terrible stuff. She was the real monster coming after innocent people. These guys, on the other hand, they seem like they're bad in one way, but in a lot of ways they're actually not, but they are dealing with a lot of trauma, and a lot of trauma that I believe Clive Barker poured into these characters to make them feel freed of a lot of their shame. So let's go ahead and we'll go more into that. We're going to move on, and she's going to talk about some of the Cenobites. Go right on ahead. Whenever you're ready, my love.
Alright, so the number one Cenobite we're going to talk about, of course, is Pinhead. Before he was Pinhead, he was an everyday human being. His name was Elliot Spencer. He was a World War I veteran who suffered from PTSD, and he had survivor's guilt due to all the awful war things and war crimes he saw.
And it's true. And from that point that he went on, from all this PTSD, he was basically dopamine seeking. And he basically, people go and do, drugs, or they drink, or they do whatever it is. Well, he decided to experiment in BDSM and things like that. So he started getting in darker situations where he was seeking out sex, risky ways of doing it. And in the midst of being lost and searching for all this just to get some kind of thrill to avoid all the demons that were in his head, and in the midst of doing all this, he came across the box, the famous Hellraiser box. And he heard some things about it, I believe.
We're missing one important thing.
And what is that?
The sadomasochism.
Yeah.
Yep, he engaged in S&M. He just didn't know any way around dealing with like how much guilt he was dealing with, and he felt like he saw so much pain and so much suffering, and he was an empath. So every time he saw all the people he was in the war with in pain and suffering, and let alone dying, he took it upon himself, and the guilt that he was so filled with and enthralled with, he just started engaging in S&M.
And he acted out in ways he didn't. So basically, I guess what everybody else does when they go out and they're drinking excessively, doing drugs or porn addiction, whatever it is, he was dopamine seeking. He was trying to find a way to
chasing.
Yeah, to find a way to be able to calm his demons and his nerves. So he got.
And the survivor's guilt played a big thing into that, since he felt like he's seen so many others go through so much pain. He felt like it would be better for him to inflict pain with pleasure, because he soon didn't know how to tell the difference between either one.
Which is true, and that's also what they say about the Cenobites, is when you see them walk out, they're talking about pain and pleasure, they're actually talking about the same thing. Unfortunately, with these kind of things, when you're just experimenting, that's a really good thing, but when you're in a dark place and you're going to the extreme, I think he went to the extreme, which probably got more and more and more and more. Who knows how much, unless we read the book, until eventually he came across that box, and the box was a naughty box, something he wasn't supposed to open, but he did.
And he ended up solving it, and that's how he got turned into Pinhead.
All right, so we just figured out what's going on with Pinhead. So PTSD, and then he got super horny. That's at the end. No, well, not well, kind of. In a way,
Kinda.
Self-inflicting. It's one of those things, like, I don't know, punching yourself in the balls or jerking off.
No, punching yourself in the balls or jerking off.
Right? That's just a casual thing. I do that every Tuesday, so. Okay, Pinhead, I get it. Don't worry, I do it all the time. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the number 2 Cenobite. And who would that be, my love?
That would be female Cenobite. She has other aliases.
No.
The Gash and Deep Throat.
Deep throat, yeah. So you notice that big hole in her neck that spread forward, and you might be wondering, did she smoke too many cigarettes, so she had to have a trachea thing happening? No, not what it is at all.
That's not what it is at all.
No, it was so
it literally was that, because before she was the female Cenobite, she actually was a nun. I mean, I have a lot in common with that, because I was a nun before I met my Travis.
Ooh, you were, baby. Yeah.
And she was a nun. She engaged in ungodly, lustful things, and one of those things has to happen with, like we just said, her second alias. It had a lot to do with that. And one night she happened to find the box, and as she realized and gained her self-worth, then it opened and she got transformed. After she solved it, she got transformed into the female Cenobite, and that's why she has that gash, because it represents what she engaged in her human form.
So she went full slut, basically?
Yeah, she went full slut mode.
Full slut mode. So again, something sexually related.
Yes, in her, I don't know if I already said it or not, but like I said, I hope I'm saying it right. Her human name was Nicoletta.
Okay, Nicoletta. Well, there we go. So another thing surrounded around sex and opening a box. So okay, now we're going to go ahead and go to the number 3 Cenobite. Who would that be?
That would be the Chatterer.
Chatterer, okay.
Now his story is just as long, maybe even a little bit longer. Like I said, we haven't read the book, but as far as the wiki, his story is extensive. His name was Jim in his human form before he was a Cenobite. He actually, it was he actually framed his mother for killing his fucking father.
Oof.
And then he was sent to an orphanage where he engaged in sexual acts with other boys at the time, and he realized that he was gay, and he was actually openly gay, and he actually had a boyfriend, and that later, after they got older, they actually became prostitutes.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they actually became prostitutes.
Yeah.
And he actually struggled with how he was actually a pretty boy. So every time he met a client, he would always, they would always ask him, what is your wish? What is your dream? And he always would say, to be ugly. And then one day happened, he met up with his boyfriend. His boyfriend actually got beat up for the fact that he actually left being a prostitute, stopped being a hooker.
Yeah, and I think part of the whole thing around this guy was, other than the fact he felt all this shame and everything else, he obviously felt like he didn't have love, and I think part of the reason why he wanted to become ugly, because who would want to make themselves ugly, right? He wanted to find somebody who
wanted to be loved for who he truly was.
Who he was, and he felt like people couldn't get past his looks because they were so attracted to him. He would attract anything and everything, but if somebody truly loves you, then it would go past that point. Unfortunately, there was a flawed logic in that sense, but at the same time, there's problems with these characters. I think that, and this is just speculation, but this character might also be a reflection of Clive Barker, and that's another big thing. The whole thing with the box and opening up the box and all these people's demons and all them turning into all this sexual stuff, but it's all this hidden stuff and all this shameful stuff. It's almost like the box was where they held all their deepest secrets. So whether they were gay or whatever it was they were into, or their pain or anything else, and opening the box is basically like them coming out,
freeing yourself, your true self
from shame, which is a beautiful thing. But in the sense of when they open the box and let themselves out, they become monsters. So the thing is, that is what the world would see them as. So technically speaking, all the Cenobites would be almost like a metaphor for how people see you based on their own personal or religious beliefs or their judgments.
Save the chatterer for
That's
more.
okay. That's fine.
Okay.
And we have it with that. So it's a pretty interesting subject. So now we're going to go ahead and go right into number 4. Yeah.
So number 4, since we already talked about the Chatterer, but if you want to be chronologically correct, it would be the Chatterer's 4. But the third one was Butterball. His story, from what I read on Wikipedia, it's actually very short. He basically was a morbidly obese man who was a glutton, and he engaged in sin, and he was a pervert. One day he came across the box, and he lost his vision. That's why he wears the sunglasses, because underneath it, his eyes are actually sewn shut. I guess it's because he would be spying on women, because he was a pervert. So that was for his... Tom. Yes, he was a peeping Tom, and that pretty much was him engaging in his sin. And then once he got turned, his eyes were sealed shut, and he wears the sunglasses. And that pretty much is his story. His is actually the shortest.
You ever wonder why they say peeping Tom? Because I was thinking two things. First off, any guy named Tom, it's like, what the fuck does it have to be a peeping Tom? Why isn't it a peeping
Larry,
Paul, a peeping Frank, a peeping Travis, or a peeping anything? So I'm thinking? I think that there was a guy, and I'm not looking any of this up. No. I could be totally wrong. But there was a guy who used to peep in on women at some point, and he got caught. And they made a law against you being able to peep against people, and his name was Tom, so they called it a peeping Tom. That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe it's because I just came up with this. Maybe it's because you know how people like polecat a tomcat, and basically when cats are going at it, the male is clawing, and he's rough. So I guess since they took it from the cats, how they're rough during sex, okay, and since they're perverts, it's okay, so it's perverse, it's a peeping Tom, it comes from cats.
It could be that too. It could be any of the above. But basically, this goes ahead and breaks down stuff with the Cenobites. There's a lot more to this. So we are going to get the book and we're going to read it, which is Clive Barker's book that was based around this whole movie, because they did some things, and there were certain things he couldn't come out to say. But I think ultimately, when you watch the movie, if you really deep dive into everything, there is a whole entire world and explanation. You can accept the movie as just purely what it is and how it presents itself to you, which is fine. And these guys that come out of hell, or you can dig deeper. And that's the whole thing with any game, movie, or anything. It's about the lore and digging deeper. And when it comes back to it, Clive Barker being the creator of this, everybody draws from inspirations in their life, and he has publicly discussed issues that he has had, changes that he has had coming out of the closet, which he did do, and all these other things. And there's a lot of pain and suffering, and then the fact that their pain and suffering to them means basically, and pleasure means the same thing. It's a way for him to combine it all, put it on screen, and say, well, here is how I feel, and it's disguised as a horror movie. And that's where we're thinking that this movie lies on. Now, going from that point, one thing I'm going to say is, when you go through the movies, through the first one and through the second movie, and you go through and you actually see them turn back to human, we can go into that at another point, which they do eventually turn back into their human forms. But they don't actually turn into their human forms until they get the realization of who they are. There's actually a scene in Hellbound, the second one, where is it not Julia? What's her name? Christy, where she finds a photo of Pinhead when he was in the war and shows it to him, and he has this look on his face where he's really confused. And then he becomes aware that that's him, and all the darkness and everything that came about. Suddenly he said, "Oh my God, what have I become? This has become too extreme." And that was enough for all of them to turn back into themselves and finally have some kind of peace of mind. With all of this, we're really excited about the game. I want to say one thing about the game. The game coming out is creatively done by Clive Barker. He wrote the stories and he put all the details into it. They just did the programming for it. So a lot of this game is within the universes of the book and everything he created. So I think we're going to be in for something good, because beyond Hellraiser 2, you might like the third one for shits and giggles for fun, but let's be real, all the other ones are pretty much turned into monster films with a few things in and out that are decent. But basically, I feel like we're getting the first new rendition of Hellraiser ever, which is going to be the fucking video game that I'm so excited about. Yes. And when that comes out, we'll talk about it when we're done playing. We do an unboxing, we do everything. But that's pretty much our premise of talking about these guys. So yeah, facing your demons, letting yourself be out in the open. When they say let your freak flag fly, they mean don't have shame or fear about who it is that you are. Everybody has their things in life. Everybody has their secrets. Everybody has their kinks. Everybody has all sorts of things. And of course, within reason, that you're not a nasty, disgusting person, but the regular kind of things that you would have. And it's more about the fact of just letting yourself be in the open, because once you are, that all unlocks. But if you sit there and you're only able to do something behind closed doors because you feel shame, and it doesn't matter what it is, I know this sounds weird, but even masturbating, some people feel shame from masturbating because they grew up in a religious environment and they think it's a terrible thing. But once you're able to free that, you free yourself. And I think that's the premise of them freeing, dying, was them finally giving into everything and then coming back to and realizing that they could have just done that to begin with. And that's what I have to say about it. Anyways, anything else you want to say before we end?
And I came to the realization, it's kind of a theory, that the box itself is actually representing being in the closet, whether it be your sexuality or, kinks in general, because all the Cenobites have that very particular thing in common. It's all regarding sex.
It is.
It's all sex-based, and everybody felt like they were judged at the time period because fucking Pinhead, when he was a human, it was actually 1918, and then when he got turned, it was actually in the 1920s. So that was actually really taboo back then. So it was like he had to keep it under wraps. That's why I really think the box represents being in the closet. And also, it's like, I guess you would say it's like a head nod to Clive Barker, even before he revealed his sexuality in the 90s, was it?
Yeah, in the 90s.
In the 90s. So it's like he put a little bit of himself into each and all the Cenobites.
a little bit of himself. He did. So, anyways, what did you guys think? Do you guys like the movies? Have you seen them? If you're not, are you going to watch them? Are you excited about the game? You can let us know below if you would like. Either way, we create these videos for ourselves, and we just invite you guys to come and watch it. If you get a kick out of it, that's cool. But either way, we're already kicked. And anyways, speaking of kinks and not being shameful, we got a couple things to do, don't we, baby?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. Insert Hellraiser music right now. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Baby.
Yay.
That's well. Okay.
Let it.
I was talking about the music, but that could swell too. Why not? Anyways, guys, we appreciate you watching, and as always, my friends. Until next time, guys. Woo! You really do look hot, though.
Damn.
Yeah, woo, baby.